How is everybody doing today? So it is Sean from Bearded Philosophy. We are starting slow as we learn to make videos and stream, and apologies if the one or two of you who've watched the video have been looking for follow-ups. So I thought this was a good opportunity to make a video as I want to wrap up my thoughts. I think I more want to discuss some of the things that I think are big question marks with this current impeachment process that's ongoing. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is I think people are asking the wrong questions. Now, I'm going to state my view on Donald Trump now. And I want to be clear, this is not a political view, and I think I've said this before. My view about Donald Trump is very simple. I don't think he's qualified to be anywhere near the presidency. And when I say qualified, I don't mean a politician or a career politician. He has a very large business, and you can argue whether it's successful or not, fine. But he's a businessman. However, I think my questions about his suitability are specifically down to his ability as a manager. I equate Donald Trump to someone who could not hold a job down as a team leader at Staples. And you may say that's hyperbole, I'm exaggerating, I'm being dramatic. I'm trying to say this as calmly as possible. Given his language skills, his ability to recall, his ability to organize and communicate, I don't see how he could maintain a job as a team leader at Staples. And people are going to argue that he is successful as as an entrepreneur. And again, that's really arguable. I've read an article where somebody tried to calculate his net worth from the money he inherited, and that is a bit of a question mark in itself to present day. And the article essentially said that if he had done nothing but put his money in a savings account, he would have the same amount of wealth he currently does, which his current level of wealth is a bit of a question mark. So I think I want to ask a few core questions to any Trump supporter, any Republican out there who's listening, to help me answer these questions. It would be very easy, as I seem to be very liberal-leaning in the last 3 years, for me to ask a Democrat, and if you are a Democrat, if you are a liberal, would be very happy to have your opinion, but I want somebody to challenge my views by answering some questions that I have. And it's specifically down to the president, and this situation with Ukraine, for me, highlights why he's not capable to be president of the United States. And even before we get to the Ukraine piece, I think the first thing I struggle to understand, and I haven't had a good answer for this, is why is it acceptable for the president of the United States to not share his tax returns, to not share his financial bindings as he is working with other countries on real estate projects where there's a lot of money? And I don't understand why it's okay for him to withhold that information, because there could be people that have his family and his livelihood in a bit of a bind due to debt or financial commitment that is influencing the decision making of the president. That's a big deal. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you surely want to know whether our president is being held hostage quietly by another country. Because there is a lot of communication that would have gone on before he was president that we wouldn't have been aware of. It's not as if it's something that, that's a new thing. People have been disclosing their financial backgrounds, their histories, their tax returns for many, many years. And in my view, it should be a prerequisite. So before we even look at Ukraine, I'm very curious as to what that is all about. Why is that okay? Why are we not making legislation or laws that to be president you have to disclose your financial commitments and assets, what they are, and what impact that could have to the country as far as influence on you? Because Donald Trump's not going to be president for the rest of his life, as much as he would probably like to. So that's something I'd like to hear a counterpoint of view on. And if you have that, put it in the comments. I think when this is done, I'm going to set up a stream. Not sure if Hugh would want to jump in. We'll ask Hugh if he wants to join, as this is more of an American politics piece. This might be just me at a time when I'm free. But what I can do is schedule a stream and jump on and comment. Let me know where I've gone wrong. If it's a compelling enough argument, maybe we get you live and speaking to us about it. Maybe we get you on sort of a call-in setup. So looking at this impeachment piece, and I'm registered independent, so I don't have a dog in this fight as far as the primary is concerned, the Democratic primary. So as far as as far as this Ukraine piece, I can understand why a Republican or a conservative would find this whole quid pro quo thing, why it wouldn't be an impeachable offense, because this is a very partisan exercise. And as it's a very partisan exercise, we don't necessarily want these exercises to be taken up by every single political party to find dirt in order to overthrow the president. I think it should be harder than that. Now, that being said, I think, similar to what Lamar Jackson said, I think that what the President of the United States did, I think it's obvious. And I think if you are trying to sell me that Donald Trump, this is my personal view, I think moving forward, I'm going to put that aside. But if you're trying to sell me that Donald Trump all of a sudden ran across this thing with Joe Biden at about the time he was the front runner, and the president then asked for an investigation or an announcement of an investigation in order to get funding, and you're trying to tell me there's no connection or there's nothing suspicious about that, you are full of shit. I'd rather you be honest with me and say, yeah, he probably did. I would even respect Donald Trump more if he said, look, it's the name of the game. I worked in real estate, and you do whatever you can to get ahead. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and my concern is for the country. Now, I don't believe that, but I think that just looks a lot better. It looks a little bit more purposeful, like there's method to his madness, not just some guy stumbling around the White House making decisions off the cuff without thinking about it, which is what I think this is. And this, for me, is a disqualifying feature of this presidency. If we look at this piece in isolation, not as an impeachable offense, but I think I would look at this as more of an indicator as to why he shouldn't be president, because he can't do even the underhanded stuff intelligently, and it's not difficult for him to have kept this maybe on the down low. And here's the example. So let's say this came up in a meeting, a cabinet meeting, or maybe not a cabinet meeting, it's probably not the best example, but let's say he had a meeting with his chief of staff, and it came to his attention that Hunter Biden had a suspicious connection with Burisma. Now, Hunter Biden isn't Joe Biden, okay? So let's just put that out there anyway. But let's say it was suspicious. Now, let's work with the argument that Donald Trump had a serious concern about corruption in Ukraine. New president, fine. I'm going to give you that for this example because that's not the angle that I'm looking at this from. So we've acknowledged there's an issue. What I would expect his senior advisors would have said, it would have been something along the lines of, okay, yes, we should look at this, but maybe we need to be careful. Because he is the front runner in the Democratic primary, he's somebody that's likely going to be your opponent. We want to make sure that the investigation is not compromised by any look of I want to say favoritism towards this issue. So we don't want it to look like you're doing this for political gain. Not for you, you're the president. You have a following of, you have a group of followers that will follow you no matter what you say or do. So we're not worried about that. What we are worried about is the efficacy of this investigation. Because if, let's say, we do anything to compromise our intentions on this, it could have an effect on the outcome. And you, Mr. President, are concerned about corruption, and we want to make sure that this is dealt with properly. So that would have been, I think, the initial feedback. So there was a whistleblower. The whistleblower heard a phone call the president made with the new president of Ukraine. And in that call, there was a discussion about making a phone call for an investigation, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And what the whistleblower said was pretty much corroborated on the transcript that was released by the White House. Which I don't understand why having the whistleblower on trial is at all relevant when the White House corroborates what the whistleblower said. I think they're more just pissed off that somebody spilled the beans on this. So therein lies my problem. The president had identified corruption. If I play into the narrative that he was concerned about corruption and not just his own personal gain. So now we want to see an investigation that goes well. So his next step is, I would like you to announce that we are going to start looking into this, because we all know that every good investigation starts by letting the subject of that investigation know what we're investigating. Surely that's a great idea. Or maybe we look at it another way. Maybe the president of the United States should have said, okay, we want a proper investigation. I think we need to work with the Ukrainian government, and we need to investigate this, because this sits at the core of our politics. What if Joe Biden becomes president? We have corruption, a connection to his family. So I don't think we should make an announcement. That's what he should have said. So this is where I question, well, personally, I question, the need to announce an investigation is not investigating corruption. An announcement is not an investigation. It's marketing. And if you try to tell me that's not marketing, I have no idea how you're going to argue that point. So, he asked for an announcement from the government on an investigation into Hunter Biden, or the Bidens, which I think the actual term was the Bidens. And this to me really, really highlights this simple piece. So I'm not in politics. I work in customer service. Okay? I'm not even a high-level customer service person. And I think what I'm saying is fairly reasonable. And I think any senior advisor to the president would agree with this. Yet the president of the United States can't do a basic investigation nor communicate to the people around him properly. Because as we know, people that were under oath testifying, for the most part, disagreed with everything that was going on. That is a bit of hyperbole, but for the most part, there was a lot of people in this trial who were under oath, actual witnesses, who had problems with this whole thing. So why is it okay to have a president who can't comprehend the nature of a basic investigation into corruption? The other question I want to ask is about the witness piece. You can have an opinion on witnesses. That's fine. You can have an opinion on whether they should have been brought in the first part of the impeachment trial or the second part. And I respect that. But if you're going to say that we shouldn't see witnesses because that's not how the process works, they should have done something then. I don't understand that. As an independent, as a neutral, I don't understand that. We have people that have first-hand knowledge. And as we have people who have first-hand knowledge, the question then is, all right, here's where we are now. Is it possible for them to be heard? Well, yes, the answer is yes. That's an inarguable question. In fact, if corruption is such an issue, we don't even need the impeachment trial to investigate the Bidens. That can happen publicly after the fact. We can impact the Biden's election chances now. After the impeachment trial. Go nuts. Without the president's involvement. It'll be great. But instead, we can't hear witnesses who were involved with this. Witnesses that surely would clear this whole thing up because everything was perfect. We're not asking for top secret information. So I guess my question is, on this piece, why is this not a cover-up? Why is this not people putting their head in the sand? Because there's information out there. And the people involved in this have to know that this information will come out. And there is a lot of shit that's hidden. And I've yet to see things come out for Donald Trump. And this is not me saying this this is not opinion. This is not conjecture. But the information that has leaked from Donald Trump has not been flattering to him. And the stuff that they control, the stuff that's been hidden, when it's President Bernie Sanders or Pete Buttigieg, or even if Trump wins re-election, let's say it's President Kamala Harris. Do you think they're going to keep the things that were left as secret in the vault? Do you think they're going to keep those things secret? No, they're going to declassify this. And everybody involved will be exposed. There's senators, I think it's a 6-year term. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Senators have a 6-year term. Or is it Congress? But there's going to be people that are still going to be in situ who will be exposed. So surely now's a good time to get out ahead of it and say, well, maybe we should ask some questions. I think it was Watergate. I think when I was reading about Watergate, both sides were saying, well, the Republican side, let's say, in this example, were saying, we back Nixon. So let's investigate. Let's prove it wrong. However, if what we're saying is correct, then, well, of course we want to know about it. In this instance, the Republican Party is, and I say the Republican Party because it is a partisan trial, is saying, we're going to prove that what he's doing is not a problem. And I don't think anybody with can seriously say at a dinner party when the cameras aren't on, up here on the screen, there it is, all of the yays in this picture. I don't think all the people, if you were having dinner with them privately and they were opening up to you after a few drinks, would say that they would be happy for President Kamala Harris to use her power to make sure she has 8 years. So why don't we start investigating Don Jr. if he decides he's going to run for president? Let's investigate his real estate dealings. We know that the Trumps haven't done well with investigations against them if you look at their charity, if you look at Trump University. And you can argue that's why he was good in business. So those are the points that I struggle with as an independent. And the reason I wanted to make this video is these aren't even, for me, points I can understand remotely an argument that would sway me to go, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the president's reasonable. He's a smart enough guy to do his job. Everything is about blaming the media. At some point, you have to take personal responsibility. At least that's what I've been taught. You're having a bad go because the media is there. They're asking questions. They're giving you a chance to clear your shit up. Instead, in the case of Mike Pompeo recently, kicking out the NPR reporter because she asked a tough question. Tough questions are brilliant. I deal with complaints. I love tough questions. Ask me a tough question. I can then paint the picture that I want you to see. If I can't paint that picture, that means, okay, I need to concede I've done something wrong. That's from a customer service standpoint. That's from dealing with complaints. So I'm open to a dialogue about this because I don't understand what's going on. So yeah, that's me done this week. This is the first recorded video I've done. I've learned how to use the streaming software to do this, so I'm growing. I'm becoming smarter. And I sounded really stupid saying that. So please put comments in. I will pay attention because I have no subscribers. So a comment will probably surprise me. But if you want to comment, if you want a dialogue, let's talk about this. And if we have enough people interested, let's schedule a stream. Educate me. Educate me, right wing. Educate me, conservatives, because I'm thinking about becoming a Democrat. And I don't like partisan politics. But it's just hard for me to find legitimacy in any of the arguments right now. And what I'm talking about, again, is not about whether quid pro quo is right. I don't think it's right. I think it has a huge impact on political processes moving forward and how other countries perceive they can deal with America. But putting that aside, the president didn't understand why he should... Sorry, let me reword this. The president thought it was the right thing to do to advertise an investigation, and he was concerned about corruption. And that's okay. That is just such a basic thing. If he doesn't understand that, I mean, take that to the next level with military secrets or top secret pieces. It's all about announcing and marketing and advertising. The messaging has been terrible with this administration. Republicans will say that. Republicans say that on a regular basis. So at what point do we cut and run? Why is Donald Trump the be-all and end-all? Is it because he's outspoken? Yeah, he's outspoken. How hard is it to be outspoken? How hard is it to be a controversial figure? Can we not find a smart controversial figure? Or a capable controversial figure? Why is it that we're hitching our wagon to this person? Why is it okay for the President of the United States to not be capable of holding down a team leader job at Staples? And there you have it. That's me done. I'm pretty happy I got that in. I actually got my thoughts in exactly the way I wanted to. So I'll get this up. If anybody wants to comment and subscribe, that would be great. I'd love to get these dialogues moving forward. Hugh and I have some other areas of content planned. But let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts. Anybody and everybody commenting. Because I'm not the type of person, and nor is he the type of person that would say, you believe in this, therefore you're stupid. I can certainly tell you why I don't understand it, but it's not my place to call you smart or stupid. So that's me for this week. Have a good week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Pay attention to the channel. So if you do subscribe, you will see when we are scheduling our next stream. And the topic of the stream will very much be driven by whatever subscribers do want to talk about to a certain degree. And there is an element where we want to talk about things, of course, we want to talk about. So yeah, thank you very much for your time and attention. And hopefully we will speak soon. Take care.